Hola estudiantes, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo están? Bienvenidos y bienvenidas a la clase de español. Welcome y'all, and some of you, welcome back to Spanish class. We are so excited, estamos tan emocionados to continue this partnership between Freestyle Language Center and DPR Construction. As many of you already know, our mission at Freestyle is connecting people through language. And as we've seen, DPR is committed to doing exactly that. As we know, y'all exist to build great things, and we are excited to be continuing this language learning journey with y'all to hopefully create some more connections in the workplace. So, vamos a seguir, ¿no? Let's keep going. En este video vamos a ver, we're going to see a little welcome, una bienvenida a Freestyle. DPR's online curriculum portal, which is new for some and maybe familiar for others. Syllabus and resources. So what do we have going on for this particular course, this session? And, por supuesto, más español, of course, more Spanish, okay? So for those of you who are returning, a lot of this information might be a review for you. So if you need a little refresher, great. But if you are already kind of a pro at all this, no worries. Toward the end of the video, we'll be looking at el español, okay? We're gonna have a little mini lesson. Pero primero, first of all, me llamo Natasha. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Natasha. Soy de Dallas, Texas. I'm from Dallas, Texas. Crecí hablando inglés y español con mis padres. So I grew up speaking English and Spanish with my parents. Mi madre es mexicana, my mother's from Mexico, y mi padre es armenio americano, pero creció en Estados Unidos. So my dad grew up in the States, but he's Armenian American. So I grew up speaking English and Spanish. Unfortunately, I did not grow up speaking Armenian, but it's on the list, está en la lista. Estudié español, traducción, interpretación y lingüística en la universidad. So I studied translation, interpretation, linguistics in college and grad school. Me encantan los idiomas. I love languages. I'm fascinated by languages. I'm a big language nerd. Entonces, siempre quiero aprender más. I always want to learn more. Y gracias a mis estudiantes, ustedes, I learn more every day. Es verdad. So, vamos a continuar. So getting into how it works, those of you who are new to Freestyle, this is a little bit about our model and specifically our model online. So an essential part of success in language learning online is what we call a flipped classroom. So what this means is that weekly you will receive a pre-class video prep lesson, meaning that the teaching or the learning of the new concept is actually done before class. So the idea is that you watch this video, do a little bit of practice before you come to class, so that once we get to class, we can actually focus on some of the questions you might have and actually putting this new concept into practice in everyday conversation, okay? That being said, we know that it's ideal, while it's ideal for you to always watch your prep lesson before class and do the practice, we understand that life happens and we don't want that by any means to discourage you from coming to class if you didn't have time to watch your video, okay? So please still come to class even if you don't always get a chance to watch your video, but that is the ideal, that you do get to watch it beforehand. So then we've got our virtual face-to-face core class twice a week. And the third day a week is what we call our construction language happy hour. So this is where we really focus on the language that you're going to use out on the job site, right, in the context of construction. And yes, you may bring an adult beverage. And so it's more of a relaxed environment. It's a little less structured than our core classes that we have 2 days a week. This is where we can kind of have a more laid back feel. And just sort of practice in everyday conversation, of course, specifically in the context of construction language, okay? And then in addition to that, we have our online curriculum, which we'll take a look at in a minute here. The key is that this online curriculum is meant to help us. This is not only what we use in class, but also those days that we don't have class. We have class 3 days a week, and that's awesome. But in order to really see results, we have to put intention on continuously practicing outside of class as well. So you have access to all sorts of resources on our online platform. And then our discussion board, Padlet, which is an important part of keeping the conversation going, keeping the practice going en español, por supuesto. So we'll take a look at that together here in a second too. Okay, so this is our online curriculum, Teachable. This is what it looks like. It's our online platform. So you should have received a welcome email with lots of detailed instructions on how to access all of this. And we'll sort of click through and look at some of the stuff that's available. And part of that is our discussion board on Padlet, where we can share things, and we'll talk more about that here in a second. So I'm going to go ahead and screen share. So this is our online platform, and DPR actually has its own exclusive online platform where you can access every course that exists for DPR, okay, for Spanish and for ESL actually. So feel free to explore other courses if you want to see what that's like, but our course is Spanish 2A, okay? So under the, again, you have instructions on how to access this and register. This is the online platform that lives on Teachable, okay? So in that welcome email, there's a magic button where you scroll through and click, and it will say access your Spanish 2A course, okay? That's how you'll get here. So the first section here is your resources for students, and we've got our syllabus. So let's get an idea for what we're going to do this session. So Semana Uno, we will start with a little review of Spanish 1B vocab and concept. So this is the course that came before Spanish 2A. So if you tested into this level, or if you just need a refresher on what we did last session, there is actually a magic button here under resources for students. See where it says need more review? Click here to access the previous course, okay? So that will take you there, and you do have access to all those materials as well. Okay, but we will be doing a little review in Semana Uno. We'll be localizing ourselves in space and time using a, de, en, con, these little prepositions, and we'll be talking about the human body, which we'll get into in this video, okay? Semana dos, ¿qué pasó? What happened? Sí, pasado. We're going to be starting with the past tense, the regular preterite and past time markers, okay? Semana 3, fuimos al médico y fue informativo. Health and the doctor's office. So here's where we're going to get into, we're going to continue with the past tense. We're going to get into a few irregulars, okay? Verbos irregulares en el pasado. Semana 4, vamos a narrar una historia en el pasado. Narrating a story in the past, so we're going to deal with order and sequence and continue practicing the regular and the irregular preterite verbs. Semana 5, vamos a hablar de la niñez. We're going to be talking about childhood, and this is our intro to a second type of past tense called the imperfect, okay? So lots of practice en el pasado. Semana 6, vamos a continuar a hablar de la niñez y las profesiones, talking about childhood and professions, using the preterite and the imperfect. So this is, now we've learned two different past tenses and how they're different. And so we're going to practice using each of them and how that's different, okay, en la semana 6. Semana 7, vamos a continuar con la niñez y las profesiones, talking about childhood and professions, using those two past tense forms concurrently. Y yo quiero algo, pero él no quiere nada. Expresiones afirmativas y negativas. We're going to get into some affirmative and negative expressions, which are a little bit different from how we do things in English, okay? And finally, semana 8, ubícate, locate yourself. Giving and getting directions. So we're going to get into prepositions, por dónde y para dónde, some uses of por and para. Some of you may have heard of those. Okay, so that is sort of an outline. And again, that syllabus is under resources for students. The next thing you'll see under, so you can access the previous course, and the next thing is our free pronunciation workshop. So we've got a whole workshop here. If you just click here, we'll take you to our pronunciation workshop. And I highly recommend reading this article on the science behind it, why it works, why it's important to focus on pronunciation. And we've got a guide and best practices for improving your accent. Spanish alphabet video is a great place to start if you haven't already seen it. And all these videos on specific sounds that tend to be difficult for non-native speakers of Spanish, okay? Entonces, vamos a practicar la pronunciación, okay? The next thing we have is Padlet. So this is our online discussion board that I mentioned earlier. So look at this. For those of you who are returning, we've got a brand new clean slate, okay, which I'm going to sort of start with now. For those of you who are brand new, this is Padlet. This is our online discussion board for the class. So we can share questions, articles, photos, funny videos, memes en español, resources that have been helpful to you in practicing your Spanish, lo que sea, anything and everything. Fotos de tu perro, de tu gato, de tus hijos, anything as long as we're practicing our español or our Spanglish is good too. Okay, so what you can do here is just make a little post. I'm going to say, me llamo Natasha y let's see, me gusta viajar. No puedo viajar ahora, but ni modo. Okay, entonces, so what you can do here is create a little post and you can share photos as well. And then you can also like and comment on here. And there are instructions down here, by the way, on how to create your profile so that your name and photo actually appear when you make a post. Okay, so that's like your first little homework assignment. And then under resources for students, you also have your Zoom link for class, okay? So you've got the Monday, Wednesday link for our core class, and then you've got a separate link for our construction Spanish happy hour session. It's a separate thing. So you should have those in your calendar, but if you ever can't find your link, it's there on Teachable. So the next section we have is our construction language. Here you've got some vocabulary cards to practice with for useful phrases in the workplace. So for example, how do we say we're behind schedule in this area? You can say,
We are behind schedule in this area.
oh, let's do this español.
Estamos atrasados en esta área.
Estamos atrasados en esta área. So these are some useful phrases and things you can use at work. And there are different study modes. So if you click down here, you can choose, a matching game, you can do a test, okay? So there are different modes, play around with that. And then from then on, you've got your weekly content. So you'll notice each week we've got a weekly handout. We've also got an answer key to go with that. And importantly, audio, okay? So we not only have the answer key, the other part of that is listening along with it, because it's one thing to read in the second language, but it's also really important to actually hear it as it's pronounced and even repeat with the audio, so that we not only get used to hearing it, but also to saying it out loud in Espanol, right? So you'll also see supplemental activities that go with that, answers and audio with that too. And each week you will have vocabulary cards. So this week we have our theme.
La cabeza.
La cabeza, the head. This is el cuerpo, the body is what we're talking about this week. So without further ado, vamos a empezar, ¿no? Let's get back to our presentation and get into some español, ¿cierto? Okay, so our theme or nuestro tema para esta semana es el cuerpo, the body. So we're going to learn some vocabulario del cuerpo. Okay, me lavo la cara todos los días. Sí, es verdad, me lavo la cara todos los días. ¿Qué es la cara? Pedro bebió mucha cerveza anoche y ahora tiene dolor de cabeza. Ay, Pedro, te entiendo, amigo. So, Pedro tomó malas decisiones, bebió mucha cerveza anoche y ahora tiene dolor de cabeza. ¿Qué es cabeza? Pobre Pedro. Me molestan los ojos. Ay, sí. Creo que necesito lentes. Mucha pantalla. Too much screen time. Yes, Zoom Live. Me molestan los ojos. ¿Qué son los ojos? Creo que necesito lentes. Okay. Si te duele la garganta, usa cubrebocas o hashtag quédate en casa. Si te duele la garganta, ¿qué es la garganta? Usa cubrebocas o hashtag quédate en casa, hashtag stay home. ¿Ok? Bien. John tiene dolor en la espalda. Necesita hacer un poco de yoga. Sí, muy bien. John tiene dolor en la espalda. Oh, cuando yo tengo dolor en la espalda, quiero hacer yoga. es buena idea. Es importante lavarte las manos frecuentemente, por supuesto, of course. Es muy importante lavarte las manos frecuentemente, ¿ok? Bueno, tal vez conoces algunas de esas palabras o tal vez conozcas, maybe you already know some of that vocabulary, pero vamos a seguir con el vocabulario del cuerpo. This week we're going to be focusing on vocabulary of the body, okay? So I challenge you to see how many words you can think of in Espanol for the body parts of the body. Okay, so first thing is to read your welcome email if you haven't already, and through that email, access Teachable and explore the curriculum and resources on your 2A course. Post something on our Padlet if you can be anything, photo of yourself, photo of your dog, just an hola and little hello. And this little mini homework for you is get started with those week 1 vocabulary flashcards. Start studying the parts of the body y vamos a seguir en clase, okay? So we'll be continuing with that in class this week. Eso es todo y nos vemos pronto. See you all soon. Hasta luego.